It is not in a particular order, but these are the ones that were selected due to a combination of several factors that we will go over right now. First of all, we've got Georgia. In this case, it's got a rating of 3.12 out of 5 of asset protections. That means that if the country wants to take over a property of a business, or if there's a person that wants to get into the property of a business, there will be laws that will back them up. So 5 would be that the government protects them really, really well. And a score of 1 would be a really bad score. So as you guys can see, these are the ones that scored quite decently, 3.7, 3.1. I would say that the limit would be perhaps 3. Kazakhstan barely did it, but let's continue. Now we've got also ease of doing business. So this will refer to the fact that there's bureaucracy, how many papers you have to fill in order to create a business, and all the other requirements that you need to create a business, right? So in this case, the ease of doing business is from 1 to 5 as well. In this case, I would say that 3 is perhaps a good limit, lower limit. So as you guys can see, these are the ones. Georgia has 3.89, and the data was obtained in 2024. Now we also have GDP growth, which is really important. As you might know, if the GDP is growing over the years steadily, it means that the economy is growing up, right? Obviously, we have to take into account that there's all other factors, but if it is growing at a steady pace, it's quite great. As you guys can see, it is a 2%, a 5%, etc., right? It is over the last 10 years. This is a percentage that is quite nice. We will see afterwards the research, the whole research, so that we will compare them with other countries. And now we also have the last years, so we can know that it's been growing sustained for 10 years and also for the past year as well, how it compares to the last 10 years. And we have here population growth from 2014 to 2023, the total growth. Then we've got the 2014 to 2023 annual percentage, and this is a cumulative percentage, all right? And last, we have the growth for the 2024 year. So as you guys can see, Georgia hasn't been doing really great, man. It's a really low percentage. As you guys can see, even less than 0.1%, which is really low. But you have to take into account those things once you want to open a business there. There's obviously a lot of factors that you will have to take into account. But as you guys can see, the other ones seem a little bit healthy. Obviously, you want the population to continue growing, because that means that people are going to stay in the country, right? Not the ones that are leaving, as we will see in the research later. And also one that is really, really important is corporate taxes, which in this case it is how much you will pay if you found a business there. Obviously, you could have a company formed in Seychelles or another jurisdiction that wouldn't really charge a lot of money, and then you could implement certain strategies in order to avoid paying a lot of taxes in certain countries. But these are the ones that are present for corporate taxes. We also can take a look at the individual taxes, but that's if you will work for somebody else. But you're here to create businesses or expand businesses, so you might not need this. I have also these other ones, but we are not taking those into account just yet. If you guys want me to do those even further, you can leave comments in the video, but this is what we've got so far, right? So now we will go over the countries that made the top 6 list, which in this case it is Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Malaysia, Oman, and Qatar. These are excellent countries so that you can form your first business, and we will go over each of those to see what pros and cons they have and how they compare to each other. First of all, we've got the asset protection of 3.12, which is relatively decent, but the majority of this has a relatively low score, right? Lower than 4, so that means that there's no country that really can grant your property in their country, right? If there are some problems with laws or exchange, you might get screwed. So you have to take that into account. But as you might know, business is a risk, so you gotta be willing to take the risk, right? Georgia 3.12. Now it is really easy to make businesses here, as you guys can see, 3.89 out of 5. Though you have to take into account that the one that we're basing this was slightly manipulated and had some incomplete data, so you want to be aware of that. For example, I think they raised China's one, and there were some trouble there. So you want to take this with a grain of salt. For example, as you guys can see, some of them are from 2020, right? We haven't gotten even more recent data. So you have to take this section with a grain of salt. Now, as you guys can see, the GDP, Georgia has been growing a lot. 5% per year of growth is really amazing. And the last year, it was even 6%. That's fantastic. The population, that's where it lacks a little bit. I wouldn't consider this as a deciding factor alone, but you can take it into account. Depending on what your target is, you might be able to see if the demographics for that specific country is decreasing or not, and you might go on from there. Corporate taxes are really amazing as well, 15% as compared to other countries that usually offer 30%, right? Now we will talk about the pros, cons, and some other stuff. For the pros, we have that it has excellent location, outstanding views, high safety standards with low crime rates. It is a business hotspot. Cons: some rural areas might lack decent medical facilities, geopolitical tensions nearby, small and monotonous cities, meaning that they all look the same, not so cheap flights, bad drivers, which will be a common amongst basically all of this, right? And unstable weather. So if you like pleasant weather all year long, this might not be the one for you. Now, for the most appealing sectors in which you might farm your business, we've got agriculture, tourism, real estate, beverage manufacturing, transport, telecommunications, and energy. If you want to research further about some study cases about the country and some of the businesses that thrive there, we've got cases such as LinkedIn and Opshow.ai. Now we continue with Kazakhstan. As you guys can see, we've got 2.82 as for asset protection, which is not that great, right? You would at least want to have a 3, but it is quite decent, right? For ease of doing business, it is a great one. It is the second best one after Malaysia. That's amazing, right? For the GDP, it's been growing as well at a 3.36% per year for over the last 10 years, and for the last one, it's been 4.60. That's an amazing figure. As per the population growth, it's been relatively decent as compared to Georgia and other nations in the western part of the world, 1.46% over the last 10 years and 0.86 over the last year. For the corporate taxes, we've got one of the highest among this list, but you might have some tricks under the sleeve. You will have to see with an accountant how you can reduce this, right? As for Kazakhstan, we've got that the pros are that it's got a growing social scene. So you might see some people that are more open-minded and might accept your business. We also have low crime rates, and this one was really great that they respect a lot. I've read that there's not that much racism nor sexism as well. For the cons, bureaucracy, people do not tend to say no. That might compromise your business if an employee promises but does not deliver. We also have that there are so many isolated cities and poor health care. For the most appealing sectors, we've got agriculture, construction, trade, communications, and manufacturing industry. Now also, if you want to research for the companies that thrive, we've got OneFit and All Hospital. For Kyrgyzstan, we've got a 3.10 in asset protection, which is quite great, though not as great as these ones. We also have that it is not the best for doing businesses as for easiness, but That's great because of the other reasons, as we will see. For the GDP, it's been growing. It's been the best one right before Georgia, which in this case it is a 4.76 and a 5 over the last year. For the population growth, we've got that it's been growing a lot, almost 2% for the last 10 years, and for the last year, 0.79%. It's also got the lowest corporate taxes among this list, and even individual taxes if you want to go and work there. For the pros of Kyrgyzstan, we've got the following. For pros, you can use horses instead of taxis. So if you're sick of taxis and the smell of gasoline and a lot of traffic, you might like this place. We've got amazing landscape and nature. Also, you can eat good food that is organic, not the one that you get processed from your grocery store or from your supermarket. For the cons, we've got Russian, political stability, and people are always late. Now for the thriving sectors, we've got mining, textiles, agriculture, IT, and renewable energy. If you want to dig deeper, the cases that are notable are the Times of Central Asia, Aeronomad Airlines, and Tilzone. Now for Malaysia, an amazing country that a lot of people are going there, a lot of millionaires are going there because of the large perks that it offers, such as ease of doing businesses, which is the best in this list, and perhaps one of the best ones in the world right now. We've also got that the GDP has been growing steadily for the last 10 years and the last year over a 4%. The population's been great as well. It's been growing 1.5% over the last 10 years and 1% over the last year. While the corporate tax is the highest, you might also have some strategies in order to reduce it. For the pros of Malaysia, we've got in widely spoken English, fantastic infrastructure, top-notch healthcare, phenomenal weather, and cosmopolitan cities that are just as great as Hong Kong. As for the cons, I've got bad drivers and bureaucracy. Basically every country, right? I couldn't find any more cons. The most appealing sectors seem to belong to technology, online betting and gambling, which is a surprise, renewable energy, which is thriving almost all the world, around all the world, healthcare as well, tourism, food, and electronics, guys. So if you're interested in one of those, you might check out Malaysia. Now for some important businesses that were founded in Malaysia, we've got Touch and Go and Tilif. Now we've got Oman with Oman. So we'll take a look at its rating, which in this case it's the highest of asset protection. So you will be safe that the government will not take your property and nor your neighbors as well. It's also great for doing businesses, as you guys can see, a 3.5 out of 5. That's phenomenal. The GDP has not been that great as compared to the other ones, but it's quite decent as compared to the rest of the world. As for population growth, we can see that it's been phenomenal, man. It's sustained a 3.74 over the last 10 years and 1.75 over the last year. That's phenomenal. And for the corporate taxes, we've got a mere 15%. That's amazing. If you want to work there, you will receive 0% as an individual. Phenomenal, right? We will go over the pros, which are safety and stability. We've also got friendly people, no racism. For the cons, we've got limited entertainment options, limited public transportation, underdeveloped cities. It is pretty hot. Also, we've got precarious working conditions, which is a con, but might be a pro since you can offer better working environments than your competition, so that will make your team remain with you. The most appealing sectors for Oman are oil and gas, real estate, tourism, renewable energy, manufacturing, and, last but not least, healthcare. For the notable cases we've got, well, I'll try to pronounce it. I'm sorry if I mistake. Urdu Oman, superiority of modern services. Now for the last one, we've got Qatar, which is an amazing country as well. For the asset protection, it's one of the highest as well, 3.71 out of 5. That's phenomenal. For the ease of doing business, we've got 3.44. That's phenomenal as well. It's been lacking a little bit on the GDP. It's been a little bit stagnant as opposed to other countries, but you might see if that will be a determining factor for your business. For the population growth, that's phenomenal, guys. It's been the one that's been growing the most out of these ones over the last 10 years. And for the last year, it's been okay, I guess. The corporate taxes and individual ones are just phenomenal. 10% and 0%. You might as well just go there if you are a multimillionaire. You will save a lot in taxes. Now for the pros, we've got low crime rate, healthcare, infrastructure, and stability. For the cons, we've got this will be really similar to man, but it's got extreme weather, it's got reckless drivers. Services availability. That means that services might open up late and close early. For example, I've read that they close things at 3 p.m., which is a shame because you might go out and buy some things. And if everything's closed at 3 p.m., that's a really shameful place to be at. Humongous cost of living. And for the last con, we've got that there are not that many attractions. Now for the most appealing sectors, we've got energy and natural resources, construction and infrastructure, healthcare and biomedical sciences, information technology and digitalization, and for the last, sustainability and environment. But this one is for the future, so you might want to take a look at that and be the pioneer of that type of business in Qatar. Now, for the case studies that are notable in Qatar, we've got Snudu and Via